It's time to see the headlines across Nigerian newspapers now. We begin with the first news this morning. First news says, old Naira notes, Tinubu moves to extend deadline. Old Naira notes, Tinubu moves to extend deadline as Policy Advisory Council released report recommending December 2024 deadline. Tinubu inaugurates National Economic Council. Okay, that's what the first news has. And then from there, let's go to the Leadership newspaper. Leadership newspaper says it's focusing on reforms. You must step on toes. CSOs, lawyers tell Tinubu, you must step on toes. CSOs, civil society organizations, and as well as lawyers are telling Tinubu they want ministers unveiled. And no excuse for failure, President declares. It says that we begged, campaigned, and danced for the job. All right, to meet Yakasai, Akonde, and Sanusi. Okay, that's what the Leadership newspaper has on this Friday. From there, let's go to Nigeria News Direct. Tinubu seeks support from governors, list areas of priority for economy. Tinubu seeks support from governors, lists areas of priority for economy, and appoints 8 special advisors. Okay, all that you see on the front page of Nigeria News Direct. From there, let's go to Business Day. Business Day says Tinubu's advisors outline to-do list for $1 trillion economy. Okay. Tinubu's advisors outlined to-do list for $1 trillion economy. Right? That's really ambitious, but certainly is achievable. The Blueprint newspaper is the next, and he says, fuel subsidy removal, Tinubu upbeat as NEC molds 702 billion naira palliatives for civil servants. All right, he's talking about the fuel subsidy, Tinubu upbeat as NEC molds 702 billion naira palliatives for civil servants. All right, PMS consumption dropped from 67 million to 40 million litres per day, as the council is revealing this. Let's take Nigeria from potential nation to rapid economy. Tinubu is saying this. Seeks governors' support. Names Alake, Ribadu, Edun, special advisors. Okay, you see all that in the Blueprint newspaper if you open it. This Nigeria is next, and it says daily fuel usage drops from 66 million to 41 million. That's the National Economic Council revealing this. All right, most legislative financial support for vehicle manufacturers. And the FCT considers payment of, federal government rather, considers payment of 703 billion naira to workers to approach World Bank for loan. Okay, this is Nigeria, and Daily Trust is the next we're looking at now. I am not on the run. Malami is quoted as saying this. I am not on the run. Malami is saying that as former Minister of Justice. All right, Sirika denies invitation from EFCC and 8 Buhari's ex-ministers under probe. EFCC source is saying this. The ex-president's corruption war, a one-man show. As Don is saying this, Nigerians reacting to sharing their opinion on this. All right, Kemi, that's what I have here. What do you have?
Right. On the front page of The Nation is a report following the NEC meeting of Thursday. And The Nation says workers to receive cost of living and petrol allowances. That's on the front page of The Nation. For The Punch, the big story there is on APC bigwigs jostling reportedly for ministerial slots as President Tinubu names 8 special advisors. Of course, we spoke extensively on that earlier in the day, on the show, I should say. Let's check out Daily Independent next. Tinubu addressing governors on Thursday, saying Nigerians are awaiting economic reforms to escape poverty. Nigerians awaiting economic reforms to escape poverty. That's on the Daily Independent. Nigerian Tribune also spotlights the economy labeled as poor, and President Tinubu addresses governors again. The takeaway for the Nigerian Tribune is, we asked for a tough job. We cannot complaint. Tinubu addressing governors. Tinubu addressing the Economic Council on Thursday is the big story on the Vanguard still. And the president is quoted as saying no excuse for failure. No excuse for failure. That's from the president to the NEC. The Daily Sun is towing a different line, spotlighting the latest on the election. Of course, the Election Petition Tribunal saying on the presidential election timetable, new twist in INEC Obi Atiku legal battle. Of course, that's also progressing over there at the presidential election petition tribunal in Abuja. Finally is The Guardian. Interesting lead story there, talking about costly rent and burial plots. Costly rent and burial plots. No resting place for the poor, even in death. That's on The Guardian. Mike.
All right. There are several stories I'd like us to see, but I'd like us to begin with the story on the front page of the Punch newspaper that says that APC bigwigs jostle for ministerial slots. Tinubu names 8 special advisors. Okay. Now, the report came out, and in fact, before the inauguration, after the election, we got reports of so many people lobbying for positions and for appointments in the Tinubu administration. Some persons feel the entitlement of what they have done, how they have assisted the party to win the election. Of course, if they have the entitlement, there's nothing wrong in that. They invested for it. However, the point is, there are the issues of what kind of appointments will the president make right now? Is it to compensate people who have worked for the party to ensure that the government comes on board? Or is it to get technocrats who will begin to revamp and change the economy and even Nigeria to give it a turnaround? These are all the things. But heavenly, this coming in yesterday, a lot of persons I even went to the level of, using statements to even blackmail the government to the level where, well, if it wasn't for me, if it wasn't for us, or if it wasn't for our association or our organization, you wouldn't have gathered this number of whatever from this area, and so on. So you have all of that, but all those are expected. And as it is, of course, the president has started unveiling his team, his cabinet gradually, with the first appointments he made as his chief of staff, and then the secretary to the government of the federation weeks ago, and then this 8 appointments now just yesterday.
Well, you've said that over time, over the years, an incoming administration, there is the sense of entitlement, and at the point when the president came on board, of course, not a few from within the party would have, will I say, use the Nigerian parlance, balance well, getting ready for them to be called upon. But if we look at how the elections panned out, the fallout of the election, the results actually gave, an interesting dimension, unprecedented if you observe the patterns over the years. Stronghold states of the ruling party, Lagos, we saw how the votes went down. Kaduna, Abuja, we saw how the votes went down. So if we now have to say...
Even in Kano.
Even in Kano, And the governor, the former governor, Ganduje, was, a staunch member of the Tinubu campaign team. He was everywhere, and it was a shocker, even though the reality on the ground was, a persona as Kwakwa, and so that remained to be seen how anyone could beat that. And we saw eventually how that alone, even though it was the only state that the NNPP garnered, but that alone, the vote said so much.
Was an emphatic
it was a big emphatic statement. So if it now comes down to the issue of, okay, you are entitled to, let's see your result on the ground. I'm just saying, I really don't know how the government would go about it, but I can see that the government, from where I stand, is spoiled for choices from within and outside the party. And the president has also spoken as much as he would go all out for competence. And so the era of, entitlements, and in any case, the government is big. Some have even said it's over bloated. So there may even be, calls for us to also, if we're trying to
prune.
save money, we might as well just cut down the cost of governance. It remains to be seen how the president will, wade through the murky waters of, selecting his men and women that will work with him on this onerous job, which he has said no one should envy him on. And obviously, this is not the first time he will have to, meander through politics. That's even one of the accolades that he has gotten. How he's the politician of politicians, and we wait to see how he will work around all these options.
He was quoted as saying, "Well, no one should feel sorry for me, or no one should have some pity for me. I called for this job, and like I think one of the papers put it, we begged, we danced, we sought for this office. Here it is. So why would anyone be saying, oh, I don't envy you or something? No, we called for it. We put our hearts in the ring, and then we wanted this job, and here it is. So all of the ideas that they had in mind, all of the things, the kind of Nigeria they wanted, now you have the power to make that change. And that is what he has been going about trying to do. The last 3 weeks has been very busy for the president on daily basis, besides welcoming guests, hosting guests, former presidents and other people who have been coming to see him. He has also gone ahead to hold critical meetings of all kinds, from economy to politics to all of those, and also trying to look through all of his renewed hope agenda and ensuring that all the things he promised there are brought forward. You could see from the first day of his speech where he said, well, as far as he's concerned, oil subsidy is gone. And you see how he also put steps, setting a committee to look into the possibility of palliatives for and so on. So it's natural for even others to want to be a part of this success story, because it's going to be in fact, it's beginning to be a success story. Yesterday, I heard someone on the phone, on the radio, who called into a program and was saying that, well, some of us didn't vote for Ahmed Tinubu. We didn't vote for him. We had our candidate. But with what's going on now, I feel that we should just throw everything away and just support, because at the end of the day, it's not about the person. You may not like somebody's nose, you may not like somebody's ears or somebody's face or somebody's height or color or whatever the thing is, but the point there is, what you would like is the change, for a better economy, for a better life, for security, for stability, for prosperity. That is what everybody wants. So if your worst enemy, if I have to put it that way, is guaranteeing that for you, why not pray for him and ensure that he succeeds? After all, that's what we want. Even those who are in support of the president, how many persons are going to have access to him, to sit down with him and play with him and eat with him and drink with him? You don't have that access. What you want is just for, the naira that you hold on a daily basis to make sense, the passport, the Nigerian passport that you hold on a daily basis when you travel to make sense, to have respect, and then when you go to the market, you're able to buy what you want to buy. And when you want to rent a house, you have what it takes to rent it. These are the things that Nigerians want. If I want to travel by road to Maiduguri, why not? So these are all the things. And it is very normal for Nigerians to want to be part of that team, part of the team that is making these changes, part of the team that is working to change, because it is going to be, history is being made, and some persons would like to be part of that history that is being made. Recall the days of Professor Olukoye Ransom Kuti when he was Minister of Health. Some people have analyzed that was the peak time that Nigerian health ever performed, because there was the emphasis on the primary health care at that time, and we all saw how robust the Nigerian health sector was at that time because of these kinds of policies and pragmatism.
Right, and talking about meetings that the president has had since his inauguration, this government also would also go down in history. I won't say the first, but this government has witnessed a splurge of visitors, spanning across party lines. The Wikes of this world, former Governor Wike of Rivers State, his presidential, the presidential candidate of the NNPC,
NNPP.
NNPP, I should say, and a host of others. Only yesterday too, we reported that former CBN Governor Sanusi and other big names have also
Former
gone
head of
on.
state Abdulsalam Abubakar.
Well, one could say as a former ruler, a former leader, coming, that also says
And
as
not to
much
forget
anyway.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan,
Goodluck
who also paid a
Jonathan,
visit
that
2 days
also
ago.
occurred this week, and it's interesting to see the camaraderie that people are bringing in from within and outside. You said earlier on how the stock market changes, that some would also say, okay, it's normal. A new president is on board. Naturally, we're ahead. We should see some movements, positive and otherwise, in the stock market, for example. But people are watching, people are listening, people are lending some form of support. On the fuel subsidy issue again, more and more people are saying it was the best thing. We ought to have even done it earlier than now, and no president had ever, had that courage, that bravery to do that. But we're seeing the president.
We saw it in 2012 under Goodluck Jonathan anyway, but we saw how Nigerians reacted, and then they had to come back to...
And even the president now is quoted as saying during the campaign, I guess now, that I believe no matter the amount of protests, we will do what needs to be done, and we will channel the extracted funds, so to speak, into much needed sectors, education, for example. And during these 3 weeks that the president has come on board, he's been working. We saw how many people commended his signing, his assent on the Student Loan Act. That's the Access to Higher Education Act. And, many people are lauding it, even though, of course, there are still lingering concerns about how this will address facilities in institutions, the issue of whether school fees would increase and all others. I think that's also one issue that the president should also try and address. Now that he has appointed some special advisors, we also need to see more in the line of education, because that is another matter entirely. So Nigerians are expecting more and more. And we also saw the program yesterday, the Shetima-led meeting with the governors and other important stakeholders, speaking about their mandate, how civil servants, how workers generally will get substantial billions, at least 700 billion to be spread across, and of course the issue of petrol allowance, to mitigate the harsh effects of the fuel subsidy removal. These are interesting times indeed for Nigerians, and we hope it continues.
Exactly, it's a good time, and for economic watchers and those who are interested in the economy and watching investment and watching a conducive atmosphere, we've always said that, or even analysts have always said, if the government creates an enabling environment, that enabling environment, businessmen, investors know where to go. For instance, somebody like Aliko Dangote, for instance, who has investments around the world, who has his companies around the world, when he's deciding where to site a factory, or as the case may be, you don't need someone to come and tell him, come and site your factory here because it is close to... He knows where to site the factory. He knows where to go when it comes to the kind of investment he's looking for. It's the same thing for investors who are outside the country looking at Nigeria, watching to know, is it right for me to go into Nigeria right now? If I go in, what are the dynamics? What are the policies? How long will I stay before I begin to reap my profit, and so on? What are the things? How friendly is the government? All of these things are things businessmen around the world look into. And you wouldn't say they don't understand what Nigeria is and how Nigeria is an amazing bride. They were only just being skeptical and cautious regarding the policies of government, because government is the God on earth. So if they say, for instance, they trapped funds for airlines and all of that, it is government policy that is holding them, right? So although now it is looked at that a lot of people have the hope that very soon the government is going to open up that space, and the airlines that came in will take their funds whenever they want to take their funds. So all of those Nigerian businessmen are looking at it.
Was it your words or the papers, something about the giant of Africa now being courted across the world?
No, of course.
Right. I know it was mentioned on the set this morning.
Exactly.
The interest
So
Nigeria is garnering.
everybody is watching, because the point there is that they're looking at the trends around the world. Recall that the countries around Nigeria had responded or reacted when the subsidy was removed. Because you see, the issue of smuggling was taking place across Nigeria. So Nigeria was literally feeding the entire countries around it, even down to Sudan, with oil, illegal oil. So we had a report where in Cameroon, for instance, and even in Chad, people, Okada riders or commercial bikers, preferred to buy the oil from Nigeria and not their own oil from their own filling stations. And then they had some illegal warehouses where they go to buy these things. But with the removal of oil subsidy, that stopped immediately. On the same day, the smuggling ended. And there was a sharp response across these countries. So it tells you that some of the things that keeps Nigeria where we are is just the issue of policies. It's just the issue of what the government is doing or refusing to do. But now that the government is responding to all of this, you will see a lot of activity around those areas, and then you see progress. And as government is doing theirs, businessmen will be doing theirs as well, and the security agents will be doing theirs as well, because the issue of security is there too, and so on. But we have to go here now. Kemi, it's really being interesting one. I will look forward to
We sure do.
Greater Nigeria.
Right.